Hey 49ers fans, I'm Thomas Mott. Welcome into Chat Sports, and today we get to grade the 49ers Week 1 win over the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. We'll do offensive grades, we will do defensive grades, special team, and then individual grades as well as the Niners get the season started off right. How about that win, baby? Let's go. 1-0. We're 1-0. Half the teams in the NFL can't say that, right? Big deal. It's the Bucs, I know, but still. 1-0 is a big deal for the 49ers. They got off to a good start. Let's start with the overall offensive grades. I went back and forth on these grades, okay, because they really should have started with Jimmy Garoppolo going like 10 for 13 or 13 of 16, 100 yards and 2 touchdowns to start the first half, right? Should have had 2 passing touchdowns to George Kittle, both of which were called back. They really drove the ball down well on that very first drive. I thought they moved the ball well, and I wanted to give them a higher grade, but we're actually going to do a C- because there were still times late in this football game where they struggled to move the ball down the field. And yes, Garoppolo should have had 2 passing touchdowns, but other than Kittle, no one in the running game did anything, and no one in the passing game did much of anything either. There is some things that need to be cleaned up. We'll talk about Jimmy Garoppolo more in a second, but I'm not going to give them as much praise as they deserve because, yes, you did get 31 points, but 14 of those were were Jameis Winston pick sixes, right? So it's not like they balled out. They played well enough to win. We'll give them credit where credit is due, but when you only have 158 yards passing, 98 yards rushing, it's a little bit, left to be had out there. I would have liked a little bit more, so we're not going to give them a B yet. We're going to go C- on our grade. They can improve, though, and we'll go to the individual grades here in just a second. Again, if they would have not gotten both of those Kittle touchdown passes called back, the grade would have been a little bit higher. But what are you going to do, right? Okay, it happens. We'll talk about penalties a little bit more here in a second. Defensive grades, though, A-. Nearly perfect. It was an excellent defensive game for the San Francisco 49ers. Only 17 points, 174 passing yards, 296 total yards. The big number here, though, 1 for 4 in the red zone. Jameis had his chances, especially late when he almost threw that pick, but it was a great defensive stand overall by the 49ers. How about the secondary? How good was the secondary? 3 Jameis Winston interceptions, 2 of which were pick sixes. Yeah, the Sherman one was a bad throw, and Jameis maybe the second interception too. There were a couple more drop picks that could have happened. Overall, compared to where it was last year, when Pro Football Focus rated us the worst secondary in the entire NFL, this is a big step forward. Witherspoon played well, and of course, I really like what Sherman did. Yes, Winston had his chances. He did make some throws, but overall, the secondary played great. And the defensive line, 3 total sacks. Jameis Winston was running for his life basically the entire game. A- for the defense. They came out, they were supposed to be the better unit than the offense. They showed it, and that has a lot of plus going forward in terms of winning more football games in the coming weeks. Again, A- for the defense. Quickly, though, to finish up our position group grades here, special teams, about as good as you could be. The block punt on the opening punt of the game, that was fantastic. It would have been an A+ had Robbie Gould gotten like this much more in that kick. I feel bad for almost making it an A-, but again, it was 3 for 4. That 57-yarder doinked and it went in the air and waited. So close. Okay, A- though was fine. Wisnowski was good on his couple of punts that he did. Overall, special teams did a great job in this game. They get an A-. But again, if Gold doesn't miss that 57-yarder, then we give an A+. You'll learn I'm kind of a hard grader. Okay, I try to be unbiased. I try to be honest with you guys. I don't want to just be like, oh, we won, A+. Oh, we won, A. No, A- for the special teams. But overall, it was a good day for them. All right. Individual grades here. Although first off, be sure to subscribe to our Chat Sports only YouTube channel as we got to 1,000 subscribers, but we can always keep going up. I appreciate the love, but I also would appreciate more subscribers as always as well, so go ahead and subscribe. Okay, individual grades here. Jimmy Garoppolo, B-. Now, that might be actually a little generous because he really, he had the interception, and he only had the 1 touchdown pass, and his receivers didn't do much. Here's the deal. I said it earlier. If they do not have 2 penalties, Kittle, 2 passing touchdowns, Jimmy Garoppolo's 13 for 16 for 100 yards and 2 touchdowns in the first half. If not for the 2 penalties. He played well. His receivers, though, besides Kittle, there's a lot to be desired there. We talked about that all offseason. What are the receivers going to look like? Pettis did nothing. Marquise Goodwin did nothing. Obviously, Jalen Hurd didn't play. It was an up-and-down offensive performance overall. I liked what I saw from Jimmy Garoppolo, though. You thought that after that pick six, it was like, Oh boy, that was a rough pick six. We had to give him a B-, but overall, it was a fine day for him. A lot better than what we saw a lot during the preseason. What would you guys grade for Jimmy Garoppolo? What would you give him? Would you give him an A? The pick six is too much, right? It's a bad pick. It could have cost you more points there in terms of momentum shifting. Can't give him an A. I think a B- is a fair grade for Jimmy Garoppolo. Let me know what you guys think down below. Next, I'm not going to do the whole running game. We'll do Tevin Coleman. It's a D-. Now listen, we got to preface it. Tevin Coleman left the Tampa Bay field, or the Tampa Bay arena, I should say, football field, whatever it is, the locker room. There we go, figuring it out. It's been a long day. He left in a walking boot. We're unsure how injured he is there in the lower leg. We'll have more probably on that tomorrow after an MRI. But the running game as a whole really struggled. Breida, Mostert didn't do much. Mostert had some nice runs late. Breida had a couple of good carries on the left side of the line, but both of them had less than 45 yards rushing. Mostert for 40, and I think Breida had 39 yards rushing as a whole. They've got to get better running the football. It's going to be very important for them going forward, especially when they are struggling passing the football with the receivers. So we'll see what happens going forward. They tried to bring in 2 tight end personnel in the second half, the 22 personnel as they call it, to run the ball a little bit more and ice the game away, which kind of worked. But overall, we expected the running backs to be a bright spot on this team, and they definitely struggled. You give Coleman the D-, he didn't do much, but I think as a whole, it's a C-, D-, D+ kind of rating right now for the 49er running game. Wide receivers. We'll hone in on Deebo Samuel because he was the only one who did anything, but the receivers as a whole, C-. Pretty poor, right? It was a quiet day for Deebo Samuel, only targeted 3 times, 3 catches for 17 yards. The fumble at the end of the first half cost points. It's a big rookie mistake. You cannot do that, so that's why you bring him down to a C-. But as I said earlier, who else did anything in terms of the offense? Pettis did nothing. Goodwin did nothing. Bourne did nothing. Richie James had a great streak route for a touchdown. That was nice, but it was more of a great play by Jimmy Garoppolo. That was it. Right, the receivers really struggled, and I was worried that this would be the case. It's a bad secondary, too. So if we want to go glass half empty, glass half full, the glass half empty of this game is you win, but your receivers looked really bad against a bad secondary. C- for Deebo Samuel. If I was going to rate all the receivers, D-. Like, they really did struggle. Hopefully they get to improve more. Where's Pettis and Goodwin? Right? Where are the 2 veterans? They're supposed to be, making plays. I digress. I had a lot higher expectations for Dante Pettis, but alas, did not do much. Hopefully, when Jalen Hurd comes back, not sure when, but hopefully soon, he'll be able to kind of lift up the passing attack here for the 49ers. All right, weigh in, grade here. Are you worried about the 49ers receivers after one game? You worried? Put 49er receivers, yes, I'm worried, or 49er receivers, no, I'm not worried. I'm curious what you guys think. Let me know in the comments down below. The bright spot on the offense, besides, of course, Jimmy Garoppolo, how about George Kittle? Give him the A+, the only A+ of the day. He looked great. Should have had those 2 receiving touchdowns. How about running over his guy? I mean, boom, lower the shoulder there on that second would have been touchdown pass. Listen, 8 catches, 54 yards, 10 targets, was the leading receiver on this team. He's solidified himself as one of the elite pass catchers at the tight end position in the entire National Football League. He's going to be Jimmy Garoppolo's guy. Thumbs up, props to you if you have him in fantasy football, because he's going to be a great tight end going forward this year. Overall, though, you expect him to be the leading receiver, but you also kind of were like, 54 yards is the leading receiver on this team. Receivers really got to pick up their game overall. All right, some defensive guys here. Let's actually do Richard Sherman next. A- for Richard Sherman. Talk about last year not looking like the old Richard Sherman. Again, recovering from the Achilles, looked more like himself. Yes, bad throw by Jameis Winston on the pick 6. It wasn't Sherman, jumping in front of the route and being crazy. No, bad throw by Jameis. Jameis was bad all night, but overall, Sherman and the secondary looked so much better. How about 4 total tackles for Richard Sherman as well? No interceptions for Sherman last year. Got one in this game that bodes well for the Niners secondary. I mentioned it earlier, but Sherman, Witherspoon, the rest of the guys there in the secondary played very well. Props to them. Big time plays there. I'm looking forward to seeing what Sherman does going forward here in the future. How do you guys feel? 49ers secondary as a whole, most improved position in my opinion in the entire team in terms of position group. The secondary, massive gains. I know it's San Francisco, or I know it is the Buccaneers. I know that they weren't expected to be very good, but it's overall a good start for that secondary, which really struggled last year. All right, let's actually do a couple of quick things here. I'm going to go with penalties, aka discipline. We did this during the preseason during our grades. D-. You know, Quan Alexander cannot get ejected so early for that hit. I know, it's the new NFL. It's how it works. Do not get ejected. Bad discipline there. We needed him late. Thank goodness we won, but that's a big part of this defense. I wanted to see him more too, right? It was so early, so hopefully he cleans that up. He'll get his fine from the league and move on. But overall, 11 penalties for 87 yards. We say this like 8 times tonight. The 2 receiving touchdowns that were called back from Kittle were penalties on us. Again, have to clean those up to compete against better teams. D- overall for the penalties and the discipline. I would have liked to see better. I would like to see more. You know, the good football teams don't get penalized. New England, very few penalties against Pittsburgh. Eagles, you know, they 3 penalties on the day, the Super Bowl champs 2 years ago. The good teams don't get penalized a lot. The bad teams do. Atlanta got penalized a lot. And of course, here we are with San Francisco, just kind of showing you guys which teams get a lot of penalties. Hopefully they clean that up. That's definitely something else that Kyle Shanahan is going to need to improve. All right, overall grade. What would you give? Overall grade for the 49ers in week 1. It's got to be a B+ to an A. You know, I mean, you don't want to be a C- overall because they won. And there's a lot of bright spots. And we're 1-0. And that's a big deal. But I'm curious, what's your grade and why? Garoppolo? Good. Right? I mean, not great. Not bad. Good. Running game, underwhelming. Receiving core, pretty bad. Honestly, not that great. Defense, I liked what I saw. Defensive line played very, very well. 3 total sacks. It was good seeing Bosa out there next to Buckner. Solomon Thomas getting some in there on some plays as well. The linebackers, listen, Fred Warner was great. Led the team in tackles. Fred Warner was really, really good. And then, what do you say? The secondary is the most improved position group in the entire team. Things to work on? Yes. Is this an elite 12-win football team? No, but I think we can still go out there and compete, like I've said many times on this show. 7, 8, 9, maybe 10 wins, depending on how the NFC South looks. Again, the Seattle Seahawks look really, really bad. The Rams look good. And, of course, the Cardinals, a tie. So it's like, whatever. Cardinals, not too worried about them. But, again, I mean, I said NFC South. I meant NFC North or West. You guys know that. Just clear that up there. So, again, overall, my grade for them is probably a B-. Clean things up. Let's improve the passing game. Let's see how injured Tevin Coleman is, and then we'll go forward into next week. Listen, be sure to subscribe, not only to Chat Sports, but also to our 49ers only YouTube page that a lot of you guys are watching on. We got to 1,000. Can always go further. Let's catch Tom Downey's Cowboys report, and let's catch Mitch's Raiders report as well. We're getting close. Well, we got a ways to go, but we'll get there. Don't you guys worry. Again, all the time we have for today, guys. Be sure to leave your grades down below. I will be reading, and also, we're going to be doing a 49ers mailbag in the future, so use the hashtag 49ers and get your guys' questions in as well. All right, all the time we have for today. For Chat Sports, I'm Thomas Mott. Happy Week 1 victory, 49ers fans. As we sign off, enjoy the rest of your victory day and victory week here at Chat Sports.